To episode 442 of the Steel Cage podcast. It's May 19th and it's happening again. I am Derek Montilla, occasionally known as your assistant commissioner of IZW. Of course, is the reigning defending champion of the world. To my left, he's the tribal chief of Boyle Heights. It's the Neo X.
¿Qué pasó, mi gente? ¿Qué pasó?
Right. And to his left, he's the head of the table of the Pacific Northwest. It's Uncle Beek.
Thank you. Aren't you the assistant to the commissioner?
No. Not I am the assistant commissioner, or if you want to abbreviate it, I am the ass commissioner.
Oh, okay. All right.
What does the extra S stand for?
What? Don't worry about it. I had a fun time, by the way, boys. Speaking of which, Neo got to witness it, but I ran Gorilla at a pro wrestling show for the
I was so proud of you, just kind of teetering about, talking to talent like you own the place. I was like, that's my baby boy.
More importantly, I kept that motherfucker on track.
He was on track.
He didn't get more than 10 minutes off pace the whole night, and I was more proud of that than the excessive amount of work that they had me doing as the assistant commissioner. But I'm thrilled to be an assistant commissioner. I'd like to thank IZW for this opportunity. Living my dream, boys.
Yeah, let's see when they want to throw some shekels to sponsor this podcast.
Well, we'll see. I noticed some of our guys were on AEW this week. I'm wondering immediately how much extra that's going to cost me now. Roman, I love you, but I don't know how much you're going to ask me to pay you at the next show.
More than a hot dog this time.
Yeah, hot envelopes get a little bit fatter when you get in the big.
Roman Roselle gave me my first hot dog and a handshake in the business, and I'm thrilled it was him. Forks up, former Sun Devil.
Now, what kind of hot dog are we talking about? Hebrew National, ballpark, Frank?
Yeah, I think it was Hebrew National. It was like one of the Costco dogs, you know.
Nice.
Dog was definitely bigger than the bun. I think.
I don't know if that's a Hebrew then, but yeah, it sounds like huge.
The only downside was there was no toppings. He just handed me a hot dog in a. I
think that's the prerequisite of
naked style.
The whole hot dog situation. This is not a dressed hot dog. This is a
hot dog,
straight on hot dog. Yeah. You're lucky you got that bun. They could have served you cold out of the packet.
No, you're right. I was glad to have a bun. The bun was still soft and the hot dog was still warm. The handshake, firm.
Delightful.
Yeah, firm.
I thought you were gonna say the hot dog was firm.
Well, no, it was a little firm, but who am I to complain, right?
Who am I?
I'm just glad that I got it. Beek, I'm not the only one that got some good news, though. I understand you have some news to share with us.
Yes, indeed. Also wrestling related. So Without a Cause is coming back.
Yes.
Hopefully somewhat soon. And I was doing something there last time, but they offered me another opportunity of being commentary again. So
hey!
It looks like I'm going to be doing that again. Hope I can, get over myself and my nerves and do that. I can talk clearly, but it's actually getting up in there and doing it in front of people.
Speak the good.
I do the good talk stuff.
I talk it good.
It's going to be me and a revolving cast of wrestlers as my, I guess, I will be a mixture of color and play-by-play, I imagine. I'm not going to be a straight man by any means.
So all I can say is please don't use bullshit like, what a knee, or what a foot.
I will not say what a foot or what a knee. I might say what a kick. And that is not what you said, so it flies.
It does fly.
Or a hell of a kick.
Hello.
I don't plan to drop any random pop culture references that are over the top and forced as hell. So that happens a lot nowadays.
What about rap lyrics? Are you going to hit us with some rap lyrics?
I might throw in a little bit of hip hop. No,
Right.
it will not.
I like it.
What about wrestling puns? Can you throw a little bit of those in there? That'd be great.
The last time we did it, I did too many puns. I'm gonna probably try to avoid doing puns. I'm gonna probably
just sprinkle.
Just be like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, and all that nonsense. But yeah.
See, you and I go through something very similar, and that's why you and I are brothers and we love each other. But
yes,
there's a lot of anxiety to overcome with this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Especially when, I don't know, I think that we love it so much that we don't want to screw it up.
Yeah, when you want it, it's like, because the first time I did it, I will say it went okay. Like for whack, it went okay, but definitely not my best showing, and it didn't happen again. So I was like, oh, I kind of lost that opportunity. So when it came up again, I'm like, this time I don't want to screw it up. I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah, you can give
it all my all,
but you can get in your head like that. That's kind of the downside, So
I'm gonna be practicing up until I'm gonna start watching more shows and turning the sound off and doing it myself.
Even more reason we can do that. On a Patreon.
Ooh, calling matches.
I like it. I actually learned a lot from a spot that kind of got botched. It wasn't a match botch. It was just like a commentary promo botch where the mics weren't working, right? So because the mics weren't working, there was a lot of like, fumbling with the mic, trying to get the mic turned on and getting it to work and stuff, and it just wasn't coming on, right? And the wrestler who was in the promo is this guy Graves, one of these guys who's an indie guy here in Arizona.
Oh, he's a beefcake.
He's just incredible, right? He's like he's like Matt Dillon fucked a lion or something. I don't know. He's just this like beefy,
terrific
dude, and
he's like a Caucasian Kratos from God of War.
Exactly. And he's very smart. He's very savvy. He's great on the mic. I mean, just a well-rounded guy. One of those guys that when you see him perform locally, you're kind of like, why aren't you like a bigger deal? It's kind of like Hammerstone. Like I feel that because Hammerstone lives here in Arizona, we see him a lot, and he's one of those guys that you're just like, why aren't you the champion of WWE yet? I don't, And so with Graves, he was the wrestler involved with this spot, and we have this thing about what we're gonna do, and we were planning on doing it, and the mic didn't work, and instead of like sitting there and letting our beloved commissioner fumble with the microphone, once Graves saw the mic didn't work, this dude just snatched it out of her hand and like went off script and cut this amazing like promo that he fucking just came out of nowhere with. And like then when we went back and talked about it, it was an amazing moment because he was just like, oh, was that good? He's like, I noticed that mic wasn't work, so I just channeled this. I hated the promo, so I channeled my anger about how much I hated the promo into that, and look at how good that worked. And like I was just blown away in the moment by how everything went down. It was one of those moments where my brain went haywire because things weren't going as planned, right? Like it was kind of like my brain had a red light flashing, like danger, this isn't working out, Meanwhile, this guy just immediately assessed the issue, addressed it, and probably made it even better than what it was going to be by doing the stuff he did.
That's right.
And then he almost like knocked me on my ass as he went to the back, which was also just wonderful. But
and I mean, I think when you experience that, you can really start to absorb the actual like effort, the gravity of how much art is involved in when these performers are doing their thing. Like you really just gotta like take your hat off and just slow clap. Like, dude, this guy just freaking saved the segment off the top of the dome. Like his creative process is here.
Right. Like I told my wife, like I have too big of a buffer between, like reacting and what's happening and thinking about it. Like with that situation, it almost seemed like it was instantaneous for him to address what was going on and just improve the situation. Until you do it, you don't realize how fast that stuff happens. And like Beek, you can understand this from doing commentary. Like, people pick on WWE commentary and wrestlers and stuff. All this stuff's happening. Like
I do it constantly. You know how paranoid I am about. It's what I do all day is talk shit about what JR's fucked up on.
Sure. And then here you are doing it, going, "Oh my god, I fucked everything up tonight!" Right? Like that's the thing about it is, you just got to tip your cap to these guys with how often stuff doesn't go the right way and how often they kind of have to go off script and do shit. The true pros like this guy just, can take a situation like that, even make it better, than whatever it was that we were going to do. And then when we were sitting around kind of fumbling afterwards, it looked right. Like I had this thing I needed to do, and it, everything we did after that wasn't nearly as good as the promo that he dropped and the way he walked out and left the situation. But it looked right because we were just kind of left holding the bag like, oh my God, I don't understand what just happened. All right, commercial break, kind of thing. I think that's the thing about it is you do have a new appreciation for it, and you do kind of maybe give WWE a little bit of a leeway considering how much. But then you watch WWE Wrestlemania Backlash, and you see zombies.
They got lazy on that one.
And then you rewind because you're like, wait, hold on, why are there zombies? And then when you rewind, there's no explanation. No,
there was a tweet by Batista, and that's enough power to summon the undead horde.
It's funny because when Batista got off the plane, he was singing a different story, wasn't he, about all those tweets he was getting about his little tweet.
Yeah.
This is how way I feel that probably went down. Is they said it's a zombie movie. He said, Dave, we're gonna put zombies on the show. He goes, oh, all right, cool. I'll make sure I'll throw that tweet out there to advertise it. Then he saw what happened. He's like, fuck, I need to disavow myself from all that bullshit. It's like, I don't write the show. I was in the zombie movie.
I was in my private plane flying over wherever that stadium was or wherever the Thunderdome. I was flying over the Thunderdome.
At least some guys got to be on the pay-per-view for the very first time. Alex Zane or Ari Sterling. He was on the pay-per-view. Way to go, buddy. Oh, man. Just zombies. I felt it was very stupid, but I'm not too offended. It's the WWE. It's the same company that had me watch a man fuck a dead body or simulate fucking a dead body. The same company that had a guy electrocute a billionaire's testicles.
Yeah,
they do ridiculous shit. I'm not saying these are equivalents, but I'm
the same.
It's not par for the course by any means for WWE.
But everything you said, everything you just said, all at least had a storyline,
some sort of lead up.
Not a good storyline, baby. Not a fucking storyline that has anything to do with wrestling.
All right, then here's one that. Oh man, that kind of had a storyline. I was going to bring.
You know what the storyline?
Mae Young's hand.
Just because I watched Raw just before I watched the show was when Damian Priest chose the stipulation. He specifically said on Raw, "I don't care who the lumberjacks are. I don't care if they're aliens. I don't care if they're zombies." And I was like, oh, you motherfucker, that's how you set it up.
So you're telling me that there was intent, that this was premeditated.
Yeah, there was, yes. It was premeditated. It wasn't just murder. This was premeditated murder.
Yeah, dude, when I heard that, my instantly went, boom, oh, these motherfuckers are bringing us zombies. And then the way they worked into the segment where Morrison's just backstage and he opens a door and there's a bunch of zombies milling about in a room together.
What
it's
the fuck, man?
Oh. That's how they got there.
Like, it's frustrating for a number of reasons because I feel like this rivalry didn't deserve this.
No.
Right? I think that Miz and Morrison have been doing a great job. I think that there's so much more that they could put in. Like, I wrote this whole fake storyline in my head when Miz was pushing really hard for Johnny Cage, that obviously John Morrison would make a much better Johnny Cage than Miz ever would. Yeah. If John Morrison cut his long hair, he is already Johnny Cage. He already acts like Johnny Cage. His name's already Johnny. He's Johnny Triple.
Motherfucker's already named Johnny. His mama calls him Johnny. I call him Johnny.
All right, so I thought that there could eventually, with how Miz was pressing for the role of Johnny Cage, I thought there'd be a fun storyline where, like,
they're both competing for it.
No, they could. They both go for it, or they could kayfabe say that the Mortal Kombat people want John Morrison instead of Miz, and then that could cause
it'd be like that shampoo commercial all over again between
this
Test
was all,
and
this is all the
Edge.
shit I came up with, and it is still light years better than zombies. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I feel bad for Priest because honestly, they putting him in goofy shit already is a terrible move for his career. Like the guy could be a star, but they're already putting him in cornball shit.
Right.
And that's
I'm not saying he's ruined by any means. I'm just saying this is not a good way to go.
Well, and I just want to add to that because I thought it was fantastic that he got the rub from Bad Bunny, right? Yeah. I thought after that rub that was going to then catapult him somewhere in the mid to upper card because he still has that mainstream momentum going for him.
So. Right into the U.S. title Intercontinental.
At least.
Sure.
But what happened?
And he's multilingual, like, or bilingual. So that's like, he can speak to many cultures. Like he is a marketable star. Again, everything they're looking for. You know,
and WWE needs, more representation. They do. They don't. We've talked about it. The Bad Bunny was the only. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest were the only Hispanic representation on the WrestleMania card, right?
Let me counter with this real quick, though. Anybody else in this place would make it even worse. Like Miz is the perfect guy to get thrown in with all the zombie bullshit.
Yeah,
he is the guy to carry that saddle, and it's not going to ruin him by any means because people always expect him to do the silly shit, even though he is awesome.
Here's it's short.
Oh, I see what you did there.
It's short.
I didn't do anything there. I just said called the guy an awesome thing.
Let me one up their necessity to have them as lumberjacks in this match and just say, couldn't you have done a segment with Alexa Bliss?
Where she's hanging out with zombies? Respectable zombies who wait until the match was over to get in the ring.
Did they really think that this was going to sell the show? Did they think that this was going to be a good idea? Right? Like, I feel like they're to the point where they think that there is no such thing as bad publicity. So even if everybody is talking about how terrible it is, at least they're talking about the movie.
Talking about it.
And they probably don't care. They got their money from Netflix to advertise the damn movie. Like, to them, they're like, we'll just put this stupid bullshit in the show and get our money. Fuck the marks.
Well, and speaking of the marks, now
that's exactly what I think happened.
Who cares? We had an undead zombie before. It's like, I made that comparison too about Undertaker, which I was just being silly. Somebody said that we've put wrestling back 30 years, and it just ironically enough is roughly 30 years ago the Undertaker showed up.
Great if we did that.
Yeah.
Well,
30 years.
I was going to mention, speaking of the marks, now it's considered canon that Morrison was disemboweled or devoured by zombies.
Correct. He's gone.
So we're going to have
Morrison was he? I thought he was on the show.
Yeah, he was, and he died by zombie horde.
Oh, I know. I thought Miz got zombie killed.
Him too. Both did.
Okay, good, because
they both did.
I made a really mean tweet. Apparently, people got offended at that pun. Somebody goes, "Oh, I thought he really died." It's like, you think I would put a Miz pun in a real RIP tweet? You fucking maniacs!
Well, one of the zombies did eat his ACL. Is that right?
He ripped right off the bone.
Is that how it happened?
The bone.
Oh man. Well, get well soon, Miz, and rest in peace, John Morrison, I suppose. Dave LaGreca had another epic rant about this, and once again encapsulated all of my feelings about it.
This is just performance art at this point.
Do you have
relax.
I'll throw that up.
I don't have the link right now off the top of my head, but it's just, it's very similar to Raw. It's nothing new. He made funny faces. He got really angry. He yelled about what he yells about in his living room. I felt the same way. Like, you can say what you want about all of the other stuff, right? You could say what you want about the cinematic matches. You could say what you want about Undertaker killing the Good Brothers and, the Money in the Bank and all that. All that stuff was fun. It was fun. It was intended to be entertainment. This was a blatant advertisement and money grab that, like you guys both said, it didn't do anything other than just say, all right, well, we got to get these fucking zombies in here, so who gives a shit? Like, don't get me wrong, there were a couple of things I enjoyed, like when they put the zombies up as like people in the Thunderdome on the video monitors. I giggled at that a little bit, but
That makes no sense. How did the zombies get in front of computers?
And
Why
it
would
was
they
the
just
same
sit there?
ones too. It was the same ones. It was the Elvis zombie. I saw him. He was out there earlier. And then
How big was that damn Elvis zombie? Holy Lord. He was an absolute unit, gentlemen.
Absolute unit.
Right. You fucking old man.
Oh, by the way, speaking of being an old man, I found out that I was pronouncing Chuegy wrong.
I know
It's actually pronounced Chuegy.
Chuegy.
And it's even worse because I found out I think I'm fucking Chuegy, by the way.
Yeah.
Chuegy is some person who might be a bit old, but still wear stuff because they want people to think they're cool.
Like Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Or me and my fucking AOP wrestling shirts. Like,
dude, those things
I'm a
are
try hard
wicked.
Well, let me tell you, Raw was Chuegy, and so right, like Backlash itself wasn't bad, but once again, like I think several people have said, you're not going to remember much about it because this zombie thing stands out so much as being so bad, and that's like the first thing you associate with the pay-per-view. But I actually thought that the rest of the matches and the show was pretty solid, and I just think that my biggest complaint about the show was how many times these wrestlers had matches in between WrestleMania and this show, and then they still had this show. Like they have just beat the hell out of these rivalries from, you know, WrestleMania even starting beforehand and going up to this. SmackDown
chill out time. They missed the period of time where they'd stop after WrestleMania and go into new programs, not rehash.
Just almost completely changed directions, like down the board. Like everybody's just in new rivalries or whatever. You know, I think that, you know, if I'm being perfectly honest, SmackDown continues to hit. Like SmackDown's, the rivalries that needed to continue are the right ones, and the ones that don't need to continue. You know, like Roman's story with his cousins is so much more important than anybody that he's facing. It's great that Cesaro's getting this moment. I love Cesaro being viewed as a number one contender and a top guy, but it really doesn't matter who's going up against Roman because
the family story is now eclipsing any rivals that come up to the plate.
Right. And I mean, it's so good. They're all so good in it. It's so well told. The inclusion recently of Jimmy Uso in the story and his return has been just fucking
completely the way that we laid out on the show, where we said he has to come back and be like, what the fuck are you doing to his brother?
Right.
Yeah. And that's the best way to go.
It's one of those situations where, like, you know, we're old enough, we've watched this enough to be able to a degree predict what's going on. You're fucking old, and don't give me that shit. No, you're old. So we should be able to predict it, but it should still be satisfying when we predict the direction it's going to go, and it goes in that way, right? And it should still be good. It doesn't matter that we predict it. It doesn't matter that we all know. We don't always need to be swerved, right? Like it doesn't need Jimmy to come back and be like, oh, we're gonna swerve the fans and make him go with Roman immediately because, you know, this or that. Like, no, tell a good story and have him come out and look at his brother and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, just straight up. And that simplicity is the direction they're going, and it's so good. You have Roman just, again, I love him so much. Like, Roman is just so fucking good at what he is doing right now. The way he talks like loud and doesn't need a mic so that the microphones just pick him up. So you're always hearing everything he says all the time when he's in like the Thunderdome. You know what I mean? He's everything he's doing is really directed, and it's all just makes so much sense. It's ridiculous, but he's breaking that fourth wall with all the shit he's saying. You know what I mean? Like he almost sounds like a character on Young Rock when he's talking about how he's doing it for the family, and, you know, we need to stay on top, and this is what we do for this and that. Like all the shit, all the reasons he's giving all make it sound like he should kind of be the baby face in the situation, yet he just spices it up just enough with this comic book like villainy that it's perfect.
Yeah, people would accept him if he didn't have to be such a dick about it.
Right, because all of his reasoning is good, you know? And he's always
like, sure, we all agree, Roman, but come on,
you have to be such a dick about it.
Little even hand there, buddy.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of salivating at the storyline because I really want to see where Jimmy is going to come into play, right? Because he can ultimately either get down or lay down, you know? Like it can go either way. I would hope that they wouldn't screw up like a potential faction here as they have done in the past. Like if you're going to create a Samoan dynasty or Samoan faction, just go all in with it, man. Like it doesn't matter, just go all in with it.
But how do we convince the additional Uso brother to join them without making him look like somebody's bitch?
Exactly. So
that's the position they're in now.
That's kind of how my reasoning was before. It was like, well, just throw them in there. If they start fighting each other and then it becomes like this ripple effect of then they just hate each other, then I'll be mad. Because ultimately I want him to join.
You do.
I do.
See, okay. I am in a position where I don't care. I'm just excited by the story, right? Like I don't have a particular
That's kind of where I'm at because I just want WWE to just like give me a good payoff. Give me a great payoff for this story, please.
What if instead of it like almost leans in that direction and then they got somebody else? Let's say they brought in one of the Fatus or something like that.
That's fine. Yeah.
I mean, instead of it being Jimmy, would that even be better than going in that predictable direction of the Usos joining him? I mean, my thought is two things. I need the Usos to stay together,
for the
but
kid.
I want a well-told story. They're one of the best tag teams in all of professional wrestling, if not the best. And I think that they need, if they're going to stay together under Roman, fine. But, they need to stay together in some way, shape, or form. I don't think Roman needs a faction any longer with how good he has been with Paul Heyman.
I disagree because his whole thing is the head of the table. How can you be the head of the table if no one's at your table?
And then also,
everybody's at his table. His table is SmackDown. Have you not been paying attention?
But also, if he's not got these guys to back him up and help him cheat to win, he's just a guy who wins on his own, and that's a babyface, not a heel.
It's true. I mean, he did do a lot of groin punches.
A badass guy who talks shit, backs it up, and doesn't use people to cheat is a babyface.
That's Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm just interested.
I'm with you. Roman rules, and then I love this whole faction. I think he is definitely dominant enough to be out on his own, but it's just too good, and
we know
too many morsels there
because he's been a former champion so many times. Like we know he can be good on his own,
and plus they could eventually turn babyface as a unit as well. Like Seth Rollins is still a freaking dickhead on that brand. So and he came out and got in Roman's face that I thought was an inkling to maybe where they're going to go in the future. But you never know. SmackDown rules.
Seth is another, like, honestly, it's the two of them. Seth and Roman have really both put it together, separately. When you talk about them, disbanding the Shield and becoming their own special separate thing, they have both completely figured it out, right? Yeah. And then you have Moxley fighting Nick Gage on some fucking mud wrestling show. Anyway,
it's fucking awesome.
Which was really good.
Great. It's also great. All three of them right now are running pro wrestling. You know what I mean? Like in their own ways. Roman is by far the best thing in WWE, but when you look at Seth has really just evolved into this other thing. They both finally become a completely different character than their Shield version of themselves as a solo guy. That was one of our main criticisms of Roman for the longest time. Seth really kind of was able to free himself of that pretty early on. He always did some shit with his gear and stuff to kind of give him this new identity, and he always came up with monikers for himself. It really allowed him to kind of leaned
into like the stuff that the WWE like would burn it down. He started wearing flame stuff on his gear and shit. Yeah,
right. Now what we have is this weird, Messiah character that, I mean, just absolutely kills it when it comes to the drip department. I mean,
I think we should, as a group, since Chuegy is terrible, and I'm tired of. I'm not even gonna try to make that happen.
Chuegy.
Let's get rid of drip as well as a podcast. No more drip, guys.
Anyway, his drip is
No more drip
amazing.
there.
We sound
Because I'm
awful
literally
saying
talking
drip.
about his suit that had drips all over it.
Oh, those drips were pretty tight. Those, yeah, you're right.
Ah, now he wants to be on board.
Now you want to be. Now you're back. He's back with drip.
I didn't realize it was a literal thing.
It looked like he like melted crayons over his suit. It was great. He's just done an incredible job again, like what I was talking about with Roman, of evolving into like this super villain comic book character type guy, and I love it. I think that SmackDown, like I said, did a good job of continuing the feuds when it needed to, including Seth coming out after the championship match and going right after Cesaro, continuing this obsession that he has with Cesaro and the way Cesaro has kind of made him look like a chump and just constantly gotten over on him. I like that story. I like the continuation of it. And I think that it's a good way to kind of immediately get Seth or Cesaro right out of the title picture and another contender in there for Roman, right? I mean, that's where we're at.
Yep.
So, but another couple of cool matches that happened at Backlash, including Rey Mysterio becoming tag team champions.
Oh,
Dominic, the first ever father-son tag team champions in WWE history.
that was really neat. I thought that was really cool. Now, people keep saying like, "Oh, should Ray hang it up?" I don't think he can. I don't think he should hang it up. I think he should just keep going until he wants to hang it up. Because I think Rey Mysterio's got a lot to offer, and I think they can really re-prestige those titles if they really give him the time of day, man.
I think Rey Mysterio, even if he was not in ring wrestling, would be an awesome manager. Like, he could be the Lucha Master Splinter to like new luchadors. It'd be fucking dope as hell.
And he can like randomly Rana people from the apron.
Yeah,
like how
so many lucha moves he can do that don't necessarily he doesn't have to take a big bump for. So yeah, he rules.
I think that again, it was kind of predictable. You kind of saw it coming once they started teaming that maybe that was going to be the direction they went, but it's still very cool.
As soon as WWE notices that they can do something for the first time, they're all about it.
All about
holy
it,
shit!
right?
First time, you're really?
Wait, hold on. Wait, we've never done this. Check the books.
Yeah.
WWE loves that stuff, though, bro.
No, exactly.
They just want to be the first to do everything.
Well, they love
not even the first for themselves. They like to create their own history.
Right. They love patting themselves on the back for making their own history.
Yeah.
And it's fine as long as it's not excessive.
Whose gimmick was that? I remember that in wrestling.
Oh, Barry Horowitz.
Barry Horowitz. There you go.
Oh. I thought this was cool, though. I mean, Dominic has really come a long way, and I think he deserves to be there. I thought the storyline with the Dirty Dogs was actually pretty good. It was relevant. They were the first
Dirty Dogs.
I still can't get over how horrible that name is.
Dogs.
As bad as Dolph Ziggler is on SmackDown, he's still the GOAT on Miz and Mrs. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Alexa Bliss is my favorite character on Miz and Mrs. But
man, I missed that show.
For a second, it's a good show. Too many shut up, Alexa. Too many fabricated storylines.
Yeah,
but all of them are fabricated.
Well, no, like when you're watching that show, you can tell when there's things that like just they recorded, like him doing stuff and funny. And I'm like, why not more of this? Like, he has a life. You could really just like their lives really are crazy enough that you could just really record them without fabricating situations where Maurice's top randomly pops off. But
I saw this one where I don't watch it ever, but it was on, and then the bit was Miz was gonna do something, and Maurice had to hang out with Miz's mom.
Yeah.
Like babysitting this woman.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this is totally a fake sitcom storyline.
I know. Actually, to be honest, that ended up being pretty sweet because she's kind of OCD and she helped Maurice like organize her closet all pretty, and they had like a wonderful day together and talked about the Miz a lot. And it was actually one of those things that wasn't fabricated, but whatever Miz was doing was totally set up.
Derek. This guy, He's buying into the Miz and the Mrs. He
I
thinks
am.
he's
I'm
real.
totally. I don't
Local
know.
man thinks Miz and Mrs. is real.
I don't even think
It's
I'm
still
there.
real to me, damn it. I'm on the Miz and Mrs. Twitter page, and all I can see are pictures of like Miz's dad fishing and doing stupid stuff.
Oh yeah.
Aww.
That's what I'm saying. There was this whole thing with his dad pushing him into the water, and you're just like, ah. But the other stuff, the real stuff, is kind of good.
Oh my god, what's going on with Marjo? Ooh.
Yeah. We also had. I know we haven't discussed it, but we had Tamina and
Because no one is Mina.
What?
No one is Mina than Tamina.
Yeah, man. Don't you know that's her catchphrase? It's sweeping the nation.
Oh, I don't like that. But anyway, Tamina and Talia won the
Hey.
tag championships, and I think it's pretty cool, honestly, to see Tamina try harder than I've ever seen her try.
Oh,
But-
that's.
I just want that splash to improve, man. I've seen so many splashes in wrestling. I just like hers.
She
is kinda
does it like her dad. She just jumps and puts her arms out.
she like falls on her knees. It always makes me cringe.
Yeah, it's not good for her
Like,
body.
she's gonna blow those things out, dude.
Dude, the match that on this show that really blew me away was Rhea and Charlotte.
Yeah.
with Oscar.
Yes.
Oh,
I apologize. I didn't look at my thing. You're tripping me out for a second. Yeah, dude, that
I'm
was
embarrassed.
freaking brutal. No, you're
I
good. You're good.
apologize to all the watchers of this or the viewers of the show.
No, you're good. But no, that match was. I remember taking time to actually note how amazing. I didn't really do any memes during this show because it was the matches themselves were pretty good, outside of the really embarrassing zombie nonsense that we talked
yeah.
about.
No, you're absolutely right. Like I had no complaints about the matches. I thought a lot of the stuff they did was really good consistently across the board. I thought the big sweaty, mean, meaty men slapping meat match with the Drew and Bobby and Braun was great.
I thought that was okay.
I mean, you know what? I think
It was
I don't
amazing.
like big dude matches.
Yeah,
So I think I was more.
you don't have a Keith Lee in there. I don't want to watch.
I know, but I still really enjoyed it, and
Me
I
too.
think that's maybe it's all based on your expectations. I think my expectations were
It's
relative.
because you have these three big guys, and then one of them or two of them could look like a baby back bitch. And like, why should they? Why do they need to like look like that in like this colossal three-way dance? This just never made sense to me.
The three-way thing doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah.
I don't understand the
I've heard that.
constantly, especially at WrestleMania with the Daniel Bryan thing. Like, if you were just going to have Roman go over, the entire involvement with Daniel Bryan was just so that Edge didn't look like he lost clean. Like, I don't get it. I don't get this unnecessary involvement, especially if Edge is going to be, a guy that goes away again after WrestleMania and doesn't show back up for who knows how long. Maybe he won't be back again until next WrestleMania. Who knows? I just think that it's kind of weird, these decisions that they make to like
Protect dudes.
dudes and soften the blow of a loss.
Yeah.
And nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. You like, somebody could have a losing streak of like 10 matches, and if they win 4 in a row, we'll be like, this dude's on fire. Like
the only people who care are the marks online. They're like, oh man, they're really burying this guy. Somebody lost 4 in a row. Like, yeah, right. If this dude turned around and beat the champion the next day, like, oh shit, he's pretty good.
what I do it with personally is talent on NXT.
Yeah.
Because they bring over some talent on NXT like Kushida, like Isaiah Swerve. And they put them into a situation where, Scott is fucking around with, this low-level guy. And I'm not even talking about Leon Ruff. I'm talking about before that. Or like Kushida's wrapped up in some dumb feud with like nobody. And I'm just kind of frustrated because these guys, I feel like, are super talented, and I'm excited, and I'm even impatient for them to be put into a bigger spot. You know what I mean?
has too many irons in the fire, man.
Right.
Too many irons in the fire.
Exactly. And NXT is a show that's all about developing these guys into their own new thing that they are in WWE, and not necessarily continuing what they were on the indies. I mean, they do a good job now of letting a lot of these guys that have built an identity for themselves keep their names and, keep somewhat of themselves so that they can kind of
Work
build
off of
that. Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, they still want them to be their own thing in the indies or in NXT and in WWE. The Hit Row stuff with Isaiah Scott is incredible. It's some of the best shit NXT and WWE has ever done involving, like, in my opinion, a group of any ethnicity. It's kind of like Legado del Fantasma, because it seems so like they're doing it and that WWE is hands off. It's so authentic. It seems so real. It seems so much like what the people, you know, we always say that thing, like an extension of yourself, like you dialed up to 11. That's what both of these groups feel like. It doesn't feel like there's that same involvement from a company that felt the need to put fucking zombies in a lumberjack match.
Speaking of the hit row, dude, I really dig the concept they do of the closing promo when they all get their own lines in, but they're like moving around about, like flowing between, like literally it's like a flow or like a cipher kind of. Like it wasn't perfect, but I think that's going to be, once they get that down, what's going to be one of the coolest things we see in wrestling.
It almost feels like an evolution of the group promo.
Exactly.
I really liked it.
And it wasn't like rhyming it at all. It was just,
it was poetic.
Yeah, just great lines.
It's like you said though, it needs some work. There's some work involved, but that's what, like, NXT is kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the one thing that I have to credit them for is it's one of the most original things I've seen them do. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, I didn't think Legado del Fantasma was that original, but I loved how all in they went, right? When they started showing the logo up on the screen and fucking everything, I was like, oh, this is tremendous. Like, I was all
the matching gear.
The matching gear, right? Yeah, everything. Just, you know what I mean? Especially, you know, the artist formerly known as DJ Z. You know what I mean? Like, you have a hard time kind of getting out of that persona, especially when a lot of wrestling fans know you for that. And that shit's fucking gone for me.
And where is he? Yeah, what's he doing now? He's in NXT, like in catering, doing that thing.
What are you
Joaquin Wilde?
He's one of the guys in Legado del Fantasma.
What? Oh, okay. I thought you meant where is DJ Z, like the character?
No, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying okay. Like it's a terrible character and it's a hard gimmick to beat, right? Like, you have like LA Knight coming over basically doing the same shit that he did at Impact, right? Like, it's the you know, it's the charismatic
Drake dummy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to like shove LA Knight so much into your brain that you forget about Eli Drake.
Sure. Well, they definitely did a dumb way about going about that by having it the exact same cadence.
And
because it's meant to replace the cadence.
Terrible name. I hate the name so much.
And I guess they originally put a, what's it called? When you put copyright, they put a copyright out for LA Knights, I guess, on accident the very first time. So they originally copyrighted the wrong name for this guy, and then they realized they fucked up, so they had to.
I wish somebody would have scooped up the name they wanted to copywritten it, and held it ransom so that they could fucking use it.
Like, we just don't want to get rid of this ass. You guys are fucking us over. Man. I always thought he was rad, and then when I was putting him over one time on Twitter, somebody that we all respect that works for the WWE sent me a message that says, that guy's a fucking dickhead. I don't want to bury anybody by
no. Who's a dickhead?
Eli Drake.
Eli Drake.
Eli Drake. Oh.
He said he's a piece of shit. And the person who said it, if I told you it was, you'd be like, okay, if he said it, I believe it.
You saying it makes me believe you by an extension of it, because I don't feel like you'd bring it up on this podcast if you didn't trust the person.
I was putting the guy over big time because I think his promo is really good. The guy, as far as I can tell, he's a pretty good wrestler. I'm not an expert.
My personal experience with him was that he was an angel to me when we were at Wrestlemania in New Orleans that you took me to, that I got very drunk.
Yeah. Just say, I'll drop one more hint. He's a French-Canadian gentleman.
Oh, well, don't. Yeah, you gave too much information.
No, it was Sammy. Sammy's name.
Yeah, you know what's funny is, you know what the old zombie gimmick thing reminds me of is what they did at WrestleMania with Eric Bugenhagen. with him being
Oh, when they made him do, yeah, he's in the commercials.
He's incredible though.
Yeah,
like that's
he's
kind
great
of
in the commercials too. Even when they have him as the Old Spice character, like he does it so well. I'm like, I think he could get this over.
I do too. Like it's amazing because I don't really know what
Sex Panther or whatever the character was called. I forget.
Yes, I mean he's just incredible. Like he does not miss that guy. He seems to be one of those people that no matter what role you put him in, he succeeds. And I don't know how to get him now out of the Old Spice role.
Yeah,
but
hopefully don't sit on him too long because yeah, he's really talented and apparently grabs the ball with anything he's handed and just runs with it.
Didn't he kind of set the world on fire there a bit when he was just doing the air guitar stuff?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I remember
in the corner. He was just in the
like
corner.
this guy's getting over. We gotta
no, you're talking about in the crowd. I'm talking about like a while ago when he just had a couple of matches on NXT and he came out and he would do this whole fucking air guitar breakdown in the middle of the ring. It was badass. But yeah, no, I mean, you're right, Neo. Just even in the audience, he was killing it on the air guitar.
That's funny that they're like, this guy's getting over too much.
Yeah, I don't get
Let's
that.
get him off TV.
Is that not the purpose of everything in pro wrestling? Like
we didn't handle this this is out of our control, guys. We got to just stop it now.
When someone has that much charisma, you know what I mean? Like that, it's like the slime in Ghostbusters 2. The fucking angrier you get at it, the more it grows. Like you can't.
Like I don't think they're actually doing that. They can't actually be saying that out loud to themselves, but it's what they're doing. You know what I mean? Right. No, if there is a company that said this is going to make us money, we better stop it, and they do that, they're kicking themselves in their own dicks.
Yes, they absolutely are. Well, let's talk about really people kicking themselves in the dicks in GCW, because we had the appearance of John Moxley, as we discussed earlier, at GCW during the end of Nick Gage's match with AJ Gray for the championship. Nick Gage just kind of legendary status now since the Dark Side of the Ring episode. I don't know if you guys watched it, but it is an incredible episode.
I haven't watched it
yet. You know, I realized that like I kind of got into wrestling while Nick Gage was in jail. That's when I got into indie wrestling, you know. So I remember when he came back that it was this big deal and I had no fucking clue who Nick Gage was. So to watch this, you know, documentary, to see this thing about him essentially in a match during the Tournament of Death, impaling himself, right? Impaling himself with a light tube as he went out of the ring at one point and almost dying, literally flatlining in a helicopter for a number of minutes. This guy's on a fucking different level as far as legendary status in pro wrestling. And I feel more so now. Like, I don't think everybody had the story of Nick Gage as clearly told as this documentary showed us. And now, not only do we have this information like we do with other Dark Side of the Rings, the advantage here is this guy is still with us. And he's potentially in the prime of, well, maybe a little bit past his prime, but in the prime of his career right now. It's pretty incredible.
Dude, Nick is awesome. It's one of those guys that you see the connection he actually gets with his fans, and it's something special. Like they're at the curtain waiting for him to come out so he could just smash into them and they could just push each other and express love and brotherhood. And yeah, it's really something special, especially live, man. Like, and then Nick being such a good guy, even though like all his history and he's kind of a gritty badass, like a genuine human being. Like there's a story about there was a match and Brody Lee was there and he had Brody King was there, had his baby in the audience, and they're all fighting and they came really close to Brody. And I guess Nick Gage was, hey, sorry about that, Brody, man. As they're fighting, apologize that they inadvertently got so close to them. Like Nick just seems like a really good dude.
You know, the thing about him is like he seems, I mean, I felt like this way one time about seeing Stone Cold on an episode of I know
Broken Skull.
No, it was on the MTV prank show that they used to do. Punked, right? So they tried to do a Punked segment with Stone Cold where like basically a valet claimed like he got his car stolen, or he gave his car to somebody else or something. And Steve Austin is 100% authentic Steve Austin, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So when he got into the face of the valet guy, he literally acted this thing. Like, I thought he was going to stun him. Like, that's the way that interaction went down, right?
He was going to kill her.
And that's kind of how I feel about Nick Gage. Like, I don't feel like anything about Nick Gage is a work.
Yeah, he's authentic as fuck.
He's just authentic. What you see what you get on the mic, his character, who he is, what he is, how he is with his fans. I mean, the only thing that's a shoot, or the only thing that's a work, I'm sorry, is like him protecting his opponents sometimes in the ring. But the rest of the time, it's just him, right? I mean, I have the one story that I talked about on Twitter, but basically we were at Ring of Honor in Las Vegas and Mega Ran was on the show. So Neo and I were allowed to go backstage. And one of the times when I was going to go backstage, standing right by the double doors that you would go to the backstage area, leaning up against them, was Nick Gage. And I remember my first instinct was just to stop and assess the situation and think very carefully about how I was going to go about asking him, excuse me, to get out of my way. I've never thought this thought about a single other human being in my entire life, but I saw Nick Gage, and instead of being like, oh, hey, there's a wrestler, I'm going to go ask him for a picture, I was like, how can I make sure that this dude doesn't kick my ass right now?
You just walk up, yo, King, can I get by?
Well, I said to him, I just walked up to him and I go, Nick fucking Gage, like that. And he goes, you're fucking right. And
that's perfect.
For the most authentic hug I've ever had from a person that gruff. I was still worried he was going to stab me. Just give me a couple of shivs.
Oh, it's just some parting gifts. Parting shit.
His post-show promos where he tells everybody how much he loves every motherfucker in there, is like, coming from that guy, it's so heartwarming. You're just like, man, I just leave this place feeling loved by Nick fucking Gage.
It's badass. The only other person I can compare it to is Moxley.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I remember being there for the Revolution, shit show and the whole, exploding ring that didn't explode. And the way that Moxley handled the crowd afterwards was fucking genius. It was art. It was beautiful. I mean, I wish they would have just kept the cameras rolling and let that be part of the pay-per-view, because he fucking got up and he was like, he fucking sold all the injuries, fucking held his neck, fucking grimaced. And he was like, well, fucking Kenny Omega sure can kick some ass, but he can't build a goddamn exploding ring worth of shit. And we all like, we all let out a collective laugh and sigh that we had all been holding in that whole time, because everybody in that arena wanted it to work and go off.
The air was sucked out and he just brought it back in.
Yeah, it just let everybody kind of just relax. I think that I've seen it at wrestling shows before, and sometimes it's my favorite part of the show. Whatever happens at the end of the show, when we kind of do that moment of just appreciation for this crazy art form and everything that we just watched. But yeah, you're 100% right. The way that Nick Gage just shows that love for the fans afterwards during the show. I mean, there's one of my favorite clips is with him with like some little girl that comes where they fucking push each other.
He's even taken aback at first. Like when she walks up and shoves him, he's kind of like, what?
He's like my daughter's age. That touched me in a way I
and she turns around back and everybody like, yeah, I just pushed the shit out of Nick Gage.
I think there was a part of me that would have never imagined in a million years like a kid doing something like that at one point. But now, like, I tell my daughter everything. Like, my daughter doesn't even get to enjoy wrestling at all for it being like, I'm like, yeah, no, that guy's he's got a razor blade in his like right here.
Oh, what?
Oh yeah, I fucking all
about Santa too, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm very careful about that stuff. But wrestling stuff, I'm doing for her immediately. I think though that she definitely has that kind of appreciation for it to understand. And like she likes wrestling differently. She likes wrestling differently. She definitely watches some of this kind of stuff with us, the dark side of the ring stuff, and like it's a little bit adult sometimes. I don't let her watch every single one of them, but sometimes I let her watch the stuff because I try to tell her that like this pro wrestling life is really hard.
There's real lessons there, man. There really is.
There is. But some of them
plan
are
to
just...
sit down and just watch them all in one fell swoop again and get real sad like I did last time.
Oh yeah. That's what I fucking did with the first season. And
it was the worst. That was such dark. I was in a very dark place, Derek.
I had a hard time sleeping.
You got to talk about it with friends.
Yeah,
right. You definitely do.
Ooh, a Dark Side of the Ring watch along could be something we do.
Oh yeah, keep them ideas coming. We're gonna do watch alongs, guys. So we would like your input definitely about.
Yeah, do you want wrestling shows? Do you want movies? Do you want to see us getting inebriated in any fashion in particular? Alcoholic?
What would you like to see us drink and smoke and do?
Yeah.
You tell us.
Yeah, we're trying to aim to reconstruct the Patreon content because currently if you pledge $1, you just get the back stuff. And that's good and everything, but we want to give you more.
And we want more money. That's
also true.
That's really what it is. We need
money. I want more money.
We
need
Hawaii.
Hawaii's expensive. Do you know how expensive Hawaii is? Holy shit. But speaking of depressing, speaking of watching Dark Side of the Ring and getting all bummed out, there were a bunch of releases today at WWE.
Bummed out.
Some not so bummed out though.
Well,
some not so bummed out. That's why I say some so.
I will say that
there's only one I'm happy about.
Of course, and we're going to get to that one, and we're going to do a little dance about it, and we're going to talk about him. But a bunch of developmental talent, people that were on NXT television, some relatively major characters. The list of release names, which a buddy of mine kind of did some math, and he thinks that the case may be that these were contracts that expired, that they just didn't renew. Less than specifically singling people out. I know that we often look at the releases and think like, why was it those people? And sometimes it's just a matter of contracts and them not wanting to renew them, and you know, letting people that might have been a problem with the company like let their contract just expire instead of firing them and possibly causing, you know, further litigation or whatever down the road. So the list of release names includes Alexander Wolf, which is surprising to me.
Wasn't he in like Imperium?
He got his ass whooped on the show on Tuesday and got kicked out of the group.
Oh, that's right. That just happened. I was wondering why, like, they whipped his ass. I thought that he was gonna break off and just maybe
like that's
and be
like
a lone wolf,
or maybe just hang out with Killian Dane, you know, or something.
It seemed like there was some sort of story building in
Josh would laugh
to
at that one.
So for him to be released, it was a little surprising. I think specifically for me, I don't know about you guys, but his name was the most surprising as far as wrestling talent was concerned.
Oh, definitely.
Everybody else was relatively, you know, newer talent. Kavita DeVee, Brandy Lauren, aka Skylar Story.
Isn't that Joey Ryan's girlfriend? Or not Joey Ryan. Oh, sorry, Joey Janela. Isn't that Joey Janela's girlfriend?
That's the one that was in the hot tub with Damian Priest after he won the North American.
Oh man, I feel real bad. Sorry, Janela. That was
that's a bad slip.
Because he listens to this podcast weekly, he's gonna kick.
Yeah,
it's just negative energy I'm putting out in the world.
Janela's a big
I'm
fan of us.
with
What the
that.
fuck? Are you kidding me? I have 2 of his jackets.
I partied at MLW with him, man. We got wasted.
Are we really going to talk about wrestlers we got wasted with now? Do we want?
No, I just doing shots with the one who came up.
That's good Patreon content.
Because I will tell the whole story about me and Hornswoggle. Jake Clemens, Ezra Judge, Vanessa Bourne, which hurts me personally.
Aww.
Vanessa Bourne is a friend of mine, and she also was a local, like, Arizona sports kind of personality. So I thought she did great, to be honest. And I mean, I know because of she's my friend, of course I think highly of her, but to be honest, I feel like I'm kind of more critical of people I know. So I don't know, when I think someone's doing a good job and I know them, it's typically not just me trying to be like, hey, good job, friend. No, I'm kind of cringing usually at stuff like, you know, that Neo does, you know, all the time, just all the time.
Guy, what does he do?
But she just always did a great job. Another name that surprised me was Jessamine Duke. I say that because I remember not too long ago, it seemed like that they were getting ready to like
do something.
Push with her. Like, it was weird. I remember something about some, I don't know, some merch or some, copyrights about her or something. And I like something that made me go, oh man, she's going to have her big debut and she's going to blow up.
And she part of that crew too with Shayna? Yeah.
Part of that crew with Shayna and
Rhonda. Yeah.
Like the other 4 horsewomen or something like that they're trying to do.
Correct.
That was weird.
It's weird, right? I mean,
they were trying to do that in their own personal life. Like, it wasn't even a wrestling thing. They're just 4 girls who do MMA and were calling themselves the 4 horsewomen.
Well, they really were, right? Yeah. No, you're right about that. But then it still manifested into something, right? WWE had that showdown at that NXT show, and they were in the crowd, and the girls came out. I felt like personally they were going in a direction where Charlotte is heel, Bayley is heel, Sasha is heel. All they really need is Becky to come back and go heel. The 4 horsewomen can be all heel. And at this point, with a big influx of younger female talent, it could make all the sense in the world to do that. But I'm just waiting for that debut of Frankie Monet. Wonder when that's going to happen. The big debut of Frankie Monet. Yeah. I'm not big on the dog, and I like dogs.
I think the dog's cute.
I love
that. It's working, Derek. It's working.
It's working. But the biggest name released, as far as we're concerned, or as far as news is concerned, is the release of referee Drake Wuertz.
You mean Drake the worst?
Drake, QAnon
younger.
Wuertz, aka
younger.
Drake has had a checkered past, if you will, with the WWE, and his beliefs about QAnon theories and child sex trafficking, his support for Trump, his support for just
the mask thing,
anti-mask stuff.
Was the kicker?
Where that masks were adding to the child trafficking because you couldn't see the reactions on children's faces.
Supporter of Proud Boys. He's a supporter. He joined Parler, the right-wing speech Twitter platform, to hopefully not be censored. This guy. It's really unfortunate because so many people in the independent wrestling community were such a big fan and supporter of Drake, because his redemption storyline from, being all strung out, CZW, just kind of goofball that got beat up, to making his way, cleaning himself up and getting to PWG and becoming the big fan favorite. Like,
was he like a crackhead or something?
He was all kinds of drugs. Yeah. But yeah, he cleaned himself up. He became Christian, clearly, and then just that's developed over time into all this nonsense. But I've done work for him and artwork and so many other people. Like, we were such a big supporter, and then all of a sudden he reveals, I guess, who he truly is the whole time that we didn't know, and it's kind of awful. Yeah, the mask has fallen off. I will say this, because that's something that's kind of thrown around a lot, the whole like reveals who they truly are. Yeah, exactly. I don't really believe that. I think that people just change. I think that he was one person at one time and he's a different person now. I think that a lot of time on the internet. You spend a lot of time on the internet. You spend a lot of time in chat groups. You start going to stuff. I hate to compare my brother's recent necessity to be like a classic car show guy to I'm just gonna say let me give you an example. My brother bought a classic car and now that's all he fucking does, right? Turtle wax. All he talks about is turtle wax. My brother to death, and my brother's biggest problem is that a lot of his friends, that was funny, a lot of his friends moved far away, so he didn't have like his poker buddies and stuff anymore. He made some friends with like neighbors and stuff that lived around him, and then those people actually moved away too. And he got to a point where he just didn't really have a lot of people to socialize with outside of like me and our other brother. So he started, he bought this car that he really liked. It was a classic kind of Plymouth, and he decided that he'd start going to these car shows. And he just, he found, like we find with the wrestling community, he found a community of people that were into the thing he likes, right? But it's like, now that's my brother's identity. He's repping the Pep Boys. It's his profile picture. It's what he does every weekend. It's all he wants to talk about. You know what I mean? And so like, it's a much more innocent thing than child trafficking or QAnon theories.
But at the same time, too, it's that same type of thing where you're like, I don't even know what we have to talk about anymore because I don't fucking like classic cars or car shows. I don't do this shit. So, and like my brother's kind of whole identity has become it. So it's just this thing, right? So when people say like, oh, that's how they were, like, yeah, maybe he was kind of a trash person that could believe whatever and be easily swayed. I think that's the part that's disappointing, is when people believe this shit so much that they dedicate their lives to something like this. On the one hand, yes, it's child trafficking is a real fucking issue in this world, and I understand people wanting to end it. It's awful and it's terrible, and I see how people, based on this article we were kind of passing around, I see how people see it as like their calling. Like, my calling from God is to help these children that are being trafficked. But Jesus Christ, you get to a point where you're like so far gone that you're just like, you could literally say anything is child trafficking related. Like, oh, fucking Christmas, Santa Claus, child trafficking. That's what it's all about. That's what it's been about the whole time.
And then to find out the charities that are anti-trafficking that he's working with have ties to traffickers. It's just like,
it's like this.
And then that's what other thing. Matt Morgan was a part of that. That's when I keyed on Matt Morgan a couple weeks back. It was because he was tied to this shit with Drake.
Yeah. What sucks about that is, I don't know, we've hit this area where you have people that you like and are a fan of, yet they have these beliefs that conflict with yours, right? And it's one thing just to have beliefs. When you go as hardcore into it as Drake does, it far surpasses just a belief.
It's not just conflicting with my opinion at that point.
Yeah, I mean, like, right? Like, my friend's dad died from COVID. So when you fucking start spreading conspiracy theories and have the reach you do that COVID isn't real and we shouldn't be wearing masks, go fuck yourself.
Or that masks are being used to somehow traffic.
Like this is all some big government Hollywood pedophilia ring conspiracy.
Like, even say part of his theories were correct, like going that deep, and you totally devalue everything you're saying when you become that nonsensical. Like, let's say there is one granule of truth to all of it. When you sound like a wackadoo, like no one takes you seriously anymore, and you go on TV in your NXT shirt crying about this shit to the local governments. It's actually surprising he wasn't let go sooner, but you brought up a very good point at the beginning of this. Maybe he was a situation where if they let him go, they could expect a wrongful termination suit, and they wanted to avoid that altogether. So just let his contract expire.
When you're that close to it, it makes sense, right? Yep. It just still makes you wonder how much time is left on Velveteen Dream's contract.
Yeah.
Because holy shit, they're obviously not going to do anything with him. So to see yet another list of releases and for his name to not be on it, shocking. I mean, right? Is it not?
No, I agree 100%.
And like, okay, so like what's weird with Drake is that I will say that Drake's beliefs in his situation is so vastly different than, a lot of the bad people in professional wrestling that have kind of been, I don't know, kind of washed out, that we've tried to get rid of, and I understand, just playing devil's advocate, I understand that he seems good-natured. Like, he really does, like, he really is brainwashed by this shit and really wants to help children. Like, real tears that he cried at that fucking thing, but it just goes to show how little, he thinks about it, that he's there in his NXT shirt. Like, I work for a company I don't even talk about on social media because I don't ever want any of my shit associated with my main 40-hour job. I have enough common sense to know that someone could randomly be like, I don't like what this guy's saying, so I'm going to tell his boss on him, like that alone, just based on the jokes and shit I make, let alone the fact that I'm still doing it with my websites and the other stuff I work for. I'm just trying not to lose my house if my 40-hour job fucking finds out about the shit I'm doing on social media.
Reminds me of when Matt Riddle was trying to defend himself against his accusation wearing his Suplex Wrestling t-shirt. I'm like, dude, Suplex does not want that at all. What are you doing?
Goddamn shirt. Just put on a plain white shirt, for Christ's sake. Stop incriminating these companies and taking them down with you.
Yeah. I think to surmise the issue, however, is ignorance truly is bliss. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you wholeheartedly believe in something and you're going to lean all the way into it, that's what you're going to become. And not anybody can convince you out of it, because again, ignorance is bliss. Like they put the blinders on and they just get down that rabbit hole, and that's all they see.
Janela called Drake, and Drake was spilling all the stuff. Like this is his buddy he's known forever, and all of a sudden he's just spouting all these ideas, and what are you going to do?
And that's why I support that claim that you'd mentioned, Derek, about how, can you really fault someone for believing this? Yes and no. It's kind of a gray area, because that person, that human being, has done their research to think this is true. Yeah. It's kind of like it's not in line with what I believe in, but
it's confirmation bias.
Because a few years ago, we were waiting after an NXT show to meet up with Drew when Drew was still in NXT. And
McIntyre?
Yeah. And when you wait around after an NXT show, especially the ones here in Phoenix, or I'm sure anywhere, they start breaking that shit down immediately, right? So the minute that, like, as the ushers are telling people to go out of the arena, they're taking the ring apart. And one of the things that I respected a tremendous amount about Drake was the first person out there taking the ring apart. And Drake at this point this was a few years back, so he wasn't wrapped up in any of these kind of weird accusations or anything yet, and really had kind of had a superstar status as a referee. Everybody kind of knew Drake. His name was the one people were shouting when he would ref matches that night versus the other referees that appeared. And again, I remember we met up with Matt Tensai. We met up with Tensai, and then we saw fucking Drake doing his thing, and I had a tremendous amount of respect for Drake to be like the first guy out there taking the ring apart. He's a hard worker and he loves this business. It sucks that this is how it ends for him, and I'm sure it isn't the end. I'm sure there's going to be promotions, intense ones, absolutely intense ones, that will still book him, but there is still going to be this thing that hangs over his head with us fans, I think, forever. I think there's going to be a lot of us that don't want to see him, that aren't going to support shows that he's booked at, and don't care to give him any further platform for him to spread his conspiracy theories. And that's kind of where it's at. It sucks that anybody becomes all about anything. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks when anybody becomes like, all I know them as is this. It's like I was talking to my wife about Rob Van Dam, and at one point I remember Rob Van Dam being up there for me personally with AJ Styles as one of the most athletic, gifted pro wrestlers in all of pro wrestling. Yeah. That wasn't on WWF/WWE television when I first found out about him.
Sure.
And Rob Van Dam's career ends up with him just being the weed guy, like, and there's no problem with that. I don't have an issue with that, but it's like, it's funny how he became so about one thing that, like, him as just an athlete and the gifted shit he could do kind of just became like that, right?
Well, technically he was always the weed guy, because even in ECW, his, like, he would say RVD 420 on his shirts and smoke them and shit.
No, but that was different though. Like, there was a time where
got busted with Sabu for smoking weed.
No, I but you're right. It went from that was a part of his character to
it is
now he is the weed guy. Like,
it was like a cool thing. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like when your favorite wrestler wears like the same hat as you, and you're like, oh shit, he's wearing a fucking New Era.
Now I think he has his own weed line and probably has his own rolling.
No, he has his own papers that he was actually selling on SmackDown.
Yeah,
believe it or not. Life's weird. But yeah, that's
life's a highway, Derek, is what it is.
Life's a highway,
you
asshole. He sends me that gif all the time.
He's Plugging them memes. I love it.
I want to give a quick shout out though before we go to MLW and Ring of Honor. I think both of them have been very entertaining, and when I watch both shows, they oddly take me back like 15, 20 years in professional wrestling.
They don't set the business back.
What's that?
They don't
Not
set the
30
business
years
back.
like zombies.
Not 30 years, just 20 years. It just takes me 20 years back. But MLW especially is very, very good. I discovered their YouTube show recently and kind of went back and watched some episodes in succession. And they have some great wrestlers. They have a great presentation.
There's a pair of Von Erichs on that program.
There is a pair of Von Erichs from Hawaii. But I like their show a lot. I like MLW and what they're doing. I'm excited for as Tech Underground because I think that they're gonna do it right, and I'm excited for that. Ring of Honor, I want to give a quick shout out because they are now on your local Bally's channel. If you're not aware of this, Fox Sports in your area.
The fuck is a Bally's?
Fox Sports channel.
Isn't Bally's like a place where you go to work out? Bally Total Fitness.
Now it's a channel. It's Bally Sports. We have Bally Sports Arizona. I'm sure you have Bally Sports Seattle or something of the sort. Bally Sports Washington. Bally Sports Northwest.
Cucamonga.
Bally Sports in the Pacific.
I don't think we have those.
You have
in the Middle East.
If you have a Bally Sports channel now in your area after the changeover from Fox Sports, there's a good chance you probably have Ring of Honor now as well. So I just suggest checking that out if you do. Ours came on at Friday at midnight Pacific time. So
during my bedtime? Come on.
Yeah, it's a DVR situation, but it brings me back once again to the ECW days.
Or early ROH days when ROH was on that late at night.
Yes.
Yeah. So it kind of just it tracks. It goes back to the roots.
It tracks. On this week's episode, we did see a battle royale that featured Danhausen being thrown out of the ring, finding an El Generico mask in his pocket, putting it on, and then going back into the matches. So, if that kind of thing interests you, check out Ring of Honor.
Olehausen.
That's right.
Olehausen. El Generico.
Had some banger matches too, including a 6-man tag for the championship and some other stuff as well. So
I want to check it out because I like the addition of Bill with Vincent's group.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't sleep on ROH, man. ROH, it's been pretty consistent. Like even in these past couple of years, like I'll always check in on it, and it's always good. You know, and I feel like a shit human being because I don't watch it consistently like I should.
Well, it's hard, man. When we try to consistently watch WWE's bullshit program, it's hard for us to go watch the good stuff that we'd actually be entertained by.
I know, man. Like there needs to be a change. So
please WWE get good,
or we're gonna be forced to watch other mediums.
Sorry, Steel Cage fans, we're not watching Raw anymore.
Sorry, not
move
sorry.
Over to something exactly. We're not sorry. Hopefully, you'll move with us.
Well, like AEW just announced that they're doing an additional show on Thursdays on TBS.
Correct. That's another big news item that I was going to get to.
Aren't they flipping? Isn't Dynamite going to TBS and then they're getting a new show on TNT?
No, they're both going to be on TBS.
Shit! There's no show on TNT anymore.
Yeah, well, no, it's not that there's not going to be any show on TNT. There's going to be 4 yearly specials that are on TNT.
Oh goodness!
So it's going to be like their pay-per-views that they do instead of doing an episode of Dynamite will be on TNT.
So is it the TNT title going to be the Turner Broadcasting title now?
I'm guessing
the TBT.
It's going to be the bullshit title, which is the TBS title.
But it's the man. It's Rusev.
It's the Miro title.
Yeah,
the Miro title. I blame him for winning the championship, and then now they changed.
Now we got to go to TBS. Now he has to make.
Wait
TBS
a minute,
trunks.
Oh damn! Too bad TBS couldn't be the best something. Damn it, son of a bitch.
You got something. You'll figure that out.
I'll get there.
You see his meme brain working.
Before I move off of Ring of Honor, I just want to once again say Danhausen is a fucking star, and so is Josh Woods.
Josh is great.
Josh Woods, I think he's
good.
Kind of guy. Like he strikes me kind of as when Riddle first got signed by like Evolve and then went on to NXT. I was like, oh my god, Vince is gonna love this guy, and I knew he would, and he fucking does. And that's what Josh Woods reminds me of. Like he's he's that perfect up and comer that's like just about to peak into his prime and get into that, zone. I think he's going to be big for Ring of Honor, but wouldn't be surprised to see him leave soon for one of the bigger companies. He seems entirely too talented to stay with Ring of Honor, which I hate to say that about. I feel that about Dalton Castle and a couple of other guys, but they seem to stick around.
I honestly thought Josh Woods was going to be like if you could replace someone, or not replace, but if you could include someone in a group, I thought Josh Woods was going to be in Violence Unlimited. He looks the part. Like he can tag team with Brody King easily. I would love to see that.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah, he didn't necessarily catch on right away, but he's definitely really fine-tuned. He's awesome. And I love the MMA presentation done right. It's always a lot of fun.
It's always a lot of fun.
I actually have a question for you guys involving Violence Unlimited. Do you think they'll beat the shit out of me when I pants Tony Deppen?
There's a strong chance. Yeah.
you would have to curry a lot of favor with Brody King in order to survive.
Fair enough.
Don't fight near his baby.
All right. Well, I could do that. All right. Before we wrap things up, you guys want to do winners of the week?
I got mine.
Winners of the week. Yep.
My winner of the week is a handsome lad from down under.
Oh, you're welcome.
One Bronson Reed,
Hey!
NXT North American Heavyweight Champion.
Ew!
He does rightfully so. He's just a great dude. Me and my buddy Chris got him on the show, and Chris is a good buddy of him as well. Just a delightful gentleman and a great wrestler. And yeah, I am very proud of one Bronson Reed.
Loved him with all of our heart as Jonah Rock. Love him even more as Bronson Reed, and well deserved. He's another one of those guys that I was talking about earlier with NXT, where I kind of now have learned to be patient because of watching Kushida and Scott and Reed all kind of achieve that next level of stardom that I felt like they'd kind of deserved right away and was personally impatient about as a fan.
Yeah, I felt like they were like, why are we dropping the ball with these guys? Like,
right,
push them faster. But no, they were right.
It's a process, and it's their process, and you can argue it with all you want, but at least when you see the results and you see the right guys kind of coming through, these
especially guys who love wrestling, like not guys who are just there because they found a career. Like Joe Bronson fucking loves wrestling.
Like we were fucking,
and the only Samoan not related to The Rock, I think, in the WWE right now.
Right. Me and Mega Ran were trying our hardest not to talk about wrestling with Isaiah Scott, and yet he still brought it up in character while he's hanging out with us. Talking about Leon Ruff, he's like, fuck him, he deserved it. He was just so didn't even miss a beat as far as staying in character when referencing any wrestling stuff. And I just had a different level of appreciation for that.
Yeah, we always root for the guys who actually legitimately love this thing. We're all for those guys.
Right. I mean, it's hard to find wrestlers that even want to talk about wrestling when they're not wrestling. So, it's cool to see. Neo, I will throw it to you for your winner of the week, sir.
My winner of the week, also a new champion, Black Taurus.
Black Taurus.
Black Taurus. Yeah, he became the new AAA Latin American champion in a fucking epic 3-way. If you have a chance to just YouTube the AAA show, Rey de Reyes, it's the shittiest quality, but it is so good to watch. Highly recommend it.
AAA.
I love AAA, dude.
They need to get their shit together as far as being able to deliver their product around the world. And
they should just do it on Twitch or something, because or get find a new camera. something, man, because I was watching that shit in 480. Hurt my eyeballs.
What are you, a caveman? Jesus.
I'm a Black Taurus man.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, he's doing his thing, man, whether it be in PWG, Impact, AAA. He even gets down here at Lucha Vos here in the Valley.
Yeah. Wasn't he on GCW?
It wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me. This fool can go
He's a beast, like
Yeah.
legitimately.
Yeah, legitimate beast, literal beast. So yeah, my winner, Black Taurus. You keep those horns pointed to the heavens and keep aiming towards the sky.
I love him so much, and there's just something about him that I felt like was very. I remember the first time I saw him, I thought it was very cheesy and terrible, and just wasn't into whatever the hell he was. And then it changed like 5 seconds into his match.
Yeah.
Remember when Black Taurus suplexed Darby Allin onto me at PWG?
Yes, I do remember. Is that when you stole the nachos?
Yeah.
When you ruined our nachos. Oh, those nachos didn't deserve it.
It's funny because when I saw Darby Allin like get suplex in the ring, I'm like, yeah, I can do that.
All right, I guess I'm gonna give my winner of the week to Roman Reigns.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
I don't think I need to explain why. You guys know.
I'm gonna misspell his last name on purpose.
Acknowledge me. No, it's just I don't know. I can't think of anybody personally that had more of an impact on me in wrestling this week than him. Like, it's not just the match, it's everything else. It's like I said before, it's the storyline with the Usos, it's Jimmy coming back. It's probably the best thing, again, besides anything happening in NXT. I would take a lot of things happening in NXT as a, well, this and this is pretty good too. But I as far as Raw or SmackDown goes, he continues to be the strongest thing that they have. I think SmackDown does a good job of telling stories with a lot of their stuff. I think, like, the Sami Zayn, and the entire Intercontinental picture with Big E and Apollo and everything, that's continued and been good, and they've pumped life into it. But it's still, for me, the Roman Reigns stuff on SmackDown. I just love it. I think he's great. So
no, now do you feel like, just overall, like, Roman Reigns is the best in WWE right now?
Yes, I think that Roman Reigns is, I would definitely accept Kenny Omega being right up there with Roman, but I put him up there as one of the best things in professional wrestling right now. I say that because one of my biggest complaints about Roman historically, or a lot of things in wrestling, is just how stale it gets. How much they find a thing that works and they're like, we're just going to beat this shit to death until it all falls apart, and then we'll figure out the next thing. But we found this one thing that works, so we're going to, this is what we're going to do for now.
Beat the shit out of it.
Yeah. Roman continues to evolve almost on a weekly basis. He comes up with new catchphrases, new nicknames for himself, new things he talks about. His promos that he cuts on his social media, where he's just on a treadmill or a Stairmaster fucking working out, talking shit. I mean, like, it just reminds me of that fucking bully that beats you up and talks shit, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Because
go try to beat him up. He's gonna kick your fucking ass again. That's what he is.
And you know why? It's because I'm not on a Stairmaster. I am not on a treadmill, and you're talking to me when you're on that device.
Yeah. And you're talking down to me while you're on the device, and you're not even out of breath. You're just casually like breathing while you do fucking 2.5 hours on the treadmill at 11 o'clock at night after you wrestled, in a 45-minute match. So.
And your fucking hair is so nice.
Beautiful. His hair is fucking. We have to talk about as good as hair is.
I'm just a little jealous.
A lot of stay-in conditioner.
Shout out to Johnny Drip Drip for being a second in the beautiful hair department. And let's give a shout out to Dolph, because his hair collaboration thing in the match, I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but it was kind of incredible too. He looked like a liger or something. That's all I got, guys. I want to thank you so much for listening to episode 442 of the Steel Cage podcast. You can get us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_caveman with a K. Beek is at James Vanderbeek. That's JAIMS Vanderbeek. Indeed. And Neo is at the Neo X. That's ECKS at the end. Of course, all roads lead to at the Steel Cage. Please shoot us an email. Josh, do we have any? No? Shoot us an email to podcast@thesteelcage.com. And check out our stores. We have a couple of them that we like to promote. TheSteelCageShop.com on pro wrestling tees that we promise we will move away from there very soon. We know, the Gildan shirts. but you can check out our store. We do have one type of shirt you can get on our store, and that is the soft style shirt, because of course our shirts are the king of soft style. And of course we have the wonderful Uncle Beek, James Vanderbeek. Are you frozen, or were you just holding that position for a long time?
I was
my screen had froze.
I was chilling.
Get his stuff at pentagonzo.com.
Yes, sir. I just put up some new designs, and including Max Mona Lisa. So if you want to get that ridiculous thing, it's up there. And then Hulk Hogan took down 2 of my designs. So fuck you, Hulk Hogan.
Hey, you know what? Fuck you, Hulk Hogan.
Hey, probably the first thing we've agreed upon all night. Fuck you, Hulk Hogan. Well, fuck Drake Wuertz too while we're at it. If we're just throwing fuck yous out there.
Fuck you, Drake.
I want to go back a little bit earlier and say, fuck you, Drake Wuertz. My friend's dad died from COVID, you piece of shit. Stop fucking around. This ain't fucking a joke. People are dying. People listen to you. I think that's the biggest thing. People listen to these people, and
you're a negativity spreader, Drake.
It's not just negativity.
And he's part of a religious group, so they can just spread and prophetize that bullshit to everybody. It's fucking bullshit.
He doesn't preach the word of Seth Rollins, the Messiah.
What did you say?
You said he doesn't preach the good word of Seth Rollins, the Messiah.
No, he should though.
Seth freaking Rollins
still have a job if he was doing that.
Do you think he's gonna get booked anywhere? Like, is there a QAnon wrestling promotion somewhere?
Joey Ryan is
there's
a company called All Canceled Wrestling.
I am all canceled. All right. Well, thank you guys again so much for listening to episode 442 of this podcast. I would like to thank my co-hosts very much. I love you both very much. This entire podcast is very cheap.
Yeah, you push me to the limit, but you never get it right. You're always taking what you give it. It's gonna take all night. Yeah, the cops are in the alley. They just don't understand. We want a riot, not a rally. Come on and take my hand to the Murder City Shakedown. To the Murder City Shakedown.
Chuegy.
It's very Chuegy.
I kind of like Chuegy though.
I thought it was way better Chuegy. Then I heard it today, Chuegy. I'm like, God, I'm so Chuegy. I can't even get Chuegy right.
So Chuegy.
And then I also heard some report said Chuegy is not a thing. It's so Chuegy to make try to make Chuegy a thing. So
So the cycle ends.
yeah,
Like this podcast.
drip drip.